Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to produce deep melodic house like this. This is in the style of artists such as Klur, Böhmer, and other artists on labels such as Colorize and Anjunadeep. This was a request from one of my Accelerator students, and I'm going to share with you the exact techniques some of our other Accelerator students have used to get signed to labels such as Colorize like Molly, supported by like Tempest, and released on Purified Records like Jack Emery. You can check all of their music out below this video. I'm going to uncover 5 secrets during this tutorial, and I want you to write them down in the comments as and when you see them to take an active participation in this tutorial so you can really understand the techniques. You can download the project when it's finished. Don't know how it's going to turn out, so without further ado, let's hop into the door and get it done. Look at these lovely lilac headphones. Okay, let's get to it. 120 BPM, that's what we're going to do for this style. And the first thing I'm going to do is get a suitable kick. So I'm going to go to the EDM Tips Ultimate Kick Pack. I'm going to choose, I think I'm going to go for the Sultan kick because it's nice and deep and not too impactful. So let's just program that in on every beat. Boom, boom, boom. I want you in my room. Let's do it. And we're peaking at -12 on the master channel, just so we don't run into any clipping issues. Next thing I want to do is something that's very specific to this genre of music, which is a reverse kick. And it's really subtle. So let's just pop the exact same kick in. I'm going to reverse it. And I'm just going to line it up so it reverses in to each kick. Now at the moment it's way too loud and there's way too much bass in there, but what it's going to do is just create this interesting pre-transient before every kick, which just softens down the transients, and that's how you can help get this expensive sound for this kind of music, because lots of people struggle with that and it's a hard thing to do. So at the moment, as I said, there's too much bass in it. It's nice and quiet, so let's just color it green, the natural color of drums in the wild. Keep things nice and organized, and then just take out the low end from that reverse kick, like so. So it's really subtle. That's off. And that's on. Boom, magic list. What's the next thing? We're going to get the chords done, because that's really important for this style of music, to have some emotional chords. Everything's based on that. What are we going to call this? Klur. Klur. They've got the know-how. Oh my goodness. Anyone who's old enough and from England will know the reference. It's not good, it's not funny, it's not big, and it's not clever, but let's just move on, shall we? Right, chords, where was I? So we're going to get a nice natural piano sound. This is where I'm going to go above and beyond using just the stock plugins in Ableton. Don't worry, I am going to freeze this track so you can use it as well, even if you don't have Contact. But Contact's got loads of nice kind of realistic sounding pianos. So I'm going to go for something that's quite crunchy, and let's go for the Gentleman, just because it looks like it should be in a Guy Ritchie film. Now let's program in some chords. Now I'm actually going to make an 8-chord chord progression in this, so I'm going to select eighths as my grid size, and I'm just going to select, let's choose a major key for a change. I'm just going to choose C major, and that's because we want quite an upbeat open sound to get this Klur kind of vibe. And what I'm going to do is program in the bass notes of the chords first. So let's just get a like train our ears to what the key of C major sounds like. How happy! So I'm going to start on the root note. That's the easiest thing to do. And let's just bring it down a volume and let's work it out. I think each of them will be 4 beats long. I'm just making this up as I go along. Let's duplicate that because we want 8 chords in this progression. Most genres will just use 3 or 4 chords, but this one, we want a bit more variation. I might fast forward this bit actually. Now I'm going to just build out the chords by, when you're in scale mode like this, choose the scale here with the drop down menus, hit scale mode, and we're just going to skip a note each time to build out the standard triads. Don't worry, we're not going to use the piano as this. This is just to give us the bass for the whole track, the chordal structure. So I'm just going to skip a note each time, and this will just be the basic triads. Some of these will be major chords, some of them will be minor chords. If you want more info on all of that, you can check out our Music Theory for EDM Producers course, just been updated. It's awesome. I actually want that to be different. I'm just going on feeling now. I like that. And then progressing. No, let's just go up in the progression. And I think we might just sustain that minor chord. And that should be nice and emotional. Let's just add the 7th chords. So that's the 7th because I'm counting up from the root note of each chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Counting up in the scale. Now, if we take the scale mode off and you count up 7 notes, it's just going to hit a random note and it's not going to sound good. So you have to be counting up within the scale. I'm just going to make each of these a 7th chord. That is a weird sounding diminished chord. So all I need to do is move the top note up 1 or down 1 semitone. Again there, because we're hitting the same chord. Okay, so now this is our chord progression. Let's put it down. Now, we're going to leave those for the time being, but we're going to get back to them because we're not actually going to use the piano like that at all. But what it's done is allowed us to work out the bass notes of the track. So let's copy each of those notes. And then let's take those into a bass sound. So I'm going to create a nice brassy kind of swelling bass for this to get some of that vibes. I've got some real tricks to show you with the bass as well, but let's just get the main one in. I'm going to use Serum for this. Again, if you don't have Serum, don't worry. I'm going to freeze these different tracks. But most people do have Serum, so you know that's why I'm using it. And you can follow along in pretty much any synth, any subtractive synth. Right, so let's just paste these bass notes like this. Paste the bass, baby. Let's take them down an octave. It's going to sound horrible. Let's take them down another octave. Okay, now let's make that sound not absolute complete gash. So what I'm going to do is put a filter on that saw wave. And we want this to kind of open up and swell. So I'm going to create an envelope, which we can then assign to that filter, which is going to make it go wow a little bit, like that. So that's going to give us that kind of brassy sound. Now what I want to do is add some portamento, so that's when it kind of sweeps between the notes. So we can hear it's kind of go, oh, oh. So let's beef this up a bit. I'm going to add some unison, detune it, and that's going to create that nice sound. Let's put another oscillator in there, an octave below perhaps, just to get some of those harmonics coming in. Okay, now what we need to do is create a sub bass line because we need that to be really solid and in mono because we don't want phase cancellation issues in the low end. So I'm going to take everything out under about 100 Hertz on the mid bass, which is this. So you can hear it's lacking a bit of low end now. So for the sub bass, we're just going to get rid of some of these extra voices and keep it nice and mono. Might bring down the... in fact, I'm just going to use a sine wave and keep it really solid, like that. And that's going to give us such a nice, thick low end when faded in with our mid bass, like that. And what's more, now I can just sidechain duck the sub bass because I don't want the mid bass to be being ducked against the kick as well. So let's just duck that from my sidechain trigger track, which is a silent trigger track that you never hear the instrument playing because I've got it set to sends only. But what I can do is use that to duck different signals in time with the kick, and then I can choose the amount I want to duck them, and I've got lots of control over the length of the duck. The length of the duck, like that. So now, just the sub bass is ducking, like that. And if you want to get rid of that click that we can hear, we can just stick an EQ on there, take out the high end, top end. And it makes zero difference because I put it on the wrong track. It was a test. I hope you passed that test. If you did, congratulations, you've won at music production. There we go though. So now I've got rid of that kick. Now don't worry, we're going to change this progression a bit because I don't really like it that much. So it's more about just getting those bass notes in. Okay, Magic List, what do you say to me? You say to me that we need to get a fifth bass in there. So I'm going to create a third bass now. And by fifth bass, I mean it's playing the fifth interval above the bass note. So if we go fifth bass, again, we can have this quite quiet. Let's just take all the other basses down for now. And what we need to do is, much like building the chords, if we hit scale mode, we can grab all those bass notes and just move them to the fifth position of the scale, or the fifth position above that root note of the chord. So that's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we've got what's known as a perfect fifth, which is a really strong harmonic relationship. So let's just listen to how that sounds. And that's something that Böhmer uses a lot as well. I might make the mid bass a bit narrower in the stereo field just to create more differential between each layer. So now it's just the fifth bass that's really wide. And now with the sine wave sub bass. Mid bass, I might take out that lower harmonics, and with the fifth as well. Otherwise you've got too much going on, so that should make it a bit cleaner. That's even better. I just increased the... that's way better. So what I've done is I increased the fifth bass 1 octave above, because if you've got loads of layers in the bass, it can be really easy to get a really muddy low end. So just by doing that and just sticking that fifth bass up 1 octave above, we've got it sounding way cleaner. I'm well happy with that. Okay, next thing on the magic list is we need to build these drums out. That's going to be really important. But I think, yeah, let's do that. So first thing I'm going to do is get the normal or main core drums. I'll just turn everything off for the time being. And then we're just going to put a shaker in between every hit. And we could do that using an actual shaker, or we could use a closed hat like that with a really sharp transient. I'm just going to you don't have to do this, you could just use a shaker, but I'm going to show you the importance of transient design, especially in this genre of music, because if you don't get the sounds exactly right, you can really just change the feel of the whole track. So for example, if we got this as our open hat, but let's just add a little bit of attack there. And now we've made it into a shaker. But as it's a shaker, what we're going to do is bring it slightly before each hit so we can just bring everything a bit more in time, because now there's a bit of a slower attack on it. Take out some of the low end. Now, for this style of music, we want to create a nice short clap that's going to give lots of atmosphere and not fight too much with everything. And there's so much I've still got to show you. This is a really complex genre, so stick with me, because towards the end, we've got some really cool little tricks that just help it come alive. Right. Like, that's all quite hardcore. I'll go to the favorites. I might go to the EDM Tips Creative Toolkit. No, I'll just go to favorites for speed, because I'll show you what we can do even with a standard 909 clap. Again, we're shaping the transients. So first, let's program it in on every other kick, standard. That's how you make house music. And now let's make it a bit quieter. And we can hear, because I've only programmed it really short with no release, using the decay, we can make it really short and snappy and add a little bit of room reverb and to the open hat. Just going to gel everything together, and I'm going to add a little bit of room reverb to the kick, because it's melodic house, just to add a little bit more atmosphere. So now we've got this kind of effect. Oh, in fact, no, let's not listen to it yet. Let's get some 16th hats in, and then a shaker. So I'm going to go to my hats, closed hats. That one will do. Get in there, boy. Go on. I'm going to create a second one. That one. That's going to be left. This one's going to be right. And I'm going to create some interesting movement here. So if we set our grid to 16ths, that's when the usual groove will apply. So it's going to be something like this. And I'm just varying the velocity of each hit for a little bit of dynamics. Again, very important in this genre to have movement, lots of movement, to stop it sounding too robotic and stale. So now it's sounding like this. But instead of just having that, I'm going to have each alternate one be on the right-hand side with a different sound. And then let's get those copied. And that's just going to add some more interest, like so. Let's pan this one right. And I'm going to use a sidechain compressor, exactly as we did with the sub bass. Just going to copy and paste it, and that's going to duck that in time with the kick. So we've gone. Where's it gone? Didn't paste it. Ah, whoops, I put the filter on by mistake. I just meant to have the sidechain compressor. Okay, next we want to get a shaker in there. And again, careful layering and rhythmic interplay is so important. Otherwise it can sound a bit empty, but you have to be careful here. So I'm listening out for the timbre more than anything else, because you can kind of change the shape of the pattern, but I'm just going to look for shaker, and I'll look for some that I've downloaded before from Splice. That one will do. Let's get it in there and just bring it up really quietly. So it's hitting some of the same notes as the other drums we've already programmed in, but we need that careful variation. Don't like it. This one sounds a bit better. Let's turn off the bass and just mix these in slightly. that's with no shakers. And that's with the shakers. And I'm going to add a couple more of extra kind of incidental drums that's going to really help with the groove, because that's a bit standard at the moment. And first we're going to go for a tom, and we want that to be, I think I've got it in the wrong place though. We want it to be tuned to the track, like this. So first let's just bring it in, and we're going to put it in a suitable place. So let's just feel the groove and work out where it's going to be. We're not going to overuse this. Let's put it there. And what's the key of the track? It's the C. So let's start and try and tune it with that first note. And let's just do, 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 bum, 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 dum, 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 dum. One more semitone, I think. Dun, dun, dun. One more. Lovely, so that's a nice subby C, and the fact that it's hitting the C just helps really gel the key of the track and tunes the drums and makes them just sound a bit more cohesive. Like that, but I'm not going to leave it there. I want to add a bit of movement. I said all this nuance and detail is super important, so I'm going to put a delay on just after that one drum. Ping pong delay, a little bit of feedback, so it sounds like this. So you've got that dun dun dun, like that. And next thing I'm going to do is have one more upper drum that's just to kind of contrast against that. So I'd like a bongo of some sort, I think. Let's go to, oh, I'm already there, nice. No, that's a tom. These are really badly organized. I need to sort this out. There we go. Let's go there. And I want to, again, tune this to C as well, if I can. Dum, dum, dum. There's that weird meow sound at the end. I thought that was a cat for a second. Let's just get it in there. Get it in there. And then we're going to add a little bit of processing to that too. Let's put it here. It's quiet, and we're going to take out the high end, the low end, sorry. This is all subtle stuff, but really important for this. So with regards to that sound, we're going to put another delay on there. Usually I'll put delays on the auxiliary channel, but if it's something so small and I just want an incidental effect that's only being used by one instrument, you could just put it here on the channel itself. So let's have that repeat again. And we'll vary it. So we got it happening like twice in quick succession, but I don't want them to kind of overlap each other. So what I'm going to do is go to my tom drum sample like so, and I'm going to switch to classic mode and just make it so the release is really short. So when it stops playing, it stops the sound. Like you can hear it go dun, as opposed to dum dum. Yeah, that's what I want. But then I have to make sure this one's longer so it plays the whole thing. There we go. So we've got our drums done. Next thing on the magic list is the riff. So this is going to really start tying things together melodically. Now we've got the basics in there. So again, I'm going to create a synth from scratch. I'll just go serum. I've got to color it cyan, the natural color of synths. And I'm getting ready. I'm in this like random room because I'm actually preparing to go to the States, and we're going to meet our Accelerator students and have a meetup, which will be great fun, as well as a few other bits and bobs. So let's just get these synths programmed in. I'm going to just create a pattern on the 16ths and again add variation. Just hit scale and this is just going to be on the root note of the track. And this is a really important part of this genre. So having this kind of gentle layering of rhythmic elements. The difference in velocity isn't doing anything yet, but it will be in a second, and I'll show you how. So I'm just varying these slightly. So at the moment, it's just a horrible noise. Brilliant, Will, well done. Love it. Best work yet. So what I'm going to do to make that not rubbish is to firstly get the shape of the sound right with the ADSR. Make it pluckier, like so. Assign that to a filter envelope as well. So it's already more interesting. You can see here, this velocity is going bananas. So we can add that to a parameter as well, like the filter cutoff. And now there's loads more movement in that sound, but I'm not done yet. Let's add some unison. A little bit of noise, which we will send to the filter as well. Just to add a little bit more character to the sound. Might add a second oscillator as well. Crazy boy. Send that there too. And choose a different waveform. That's off. Just, you know, add a little bit more character. Let's try something else. Like that. One more. There we go. Love that. Okay, let's add a little bit of release. And we're going to take out the low end because it's a little bit too fighting with the bass. Look, all this information below 100 Hertz. That's all we need. And now we're going to add some room reverb. Same as the drums. Add some drive. Nice. So what I'm going to do is just run that along, because that's creating a really nice little rhythm. But what I want to do now, let's take it down an octave. Actually, let's add some hall reverb, which is just a longer reverb. Now for the magic, the magic. This needs to now have a harmony attached. So if we go up to the fifth, again, that perfect fifth, we've got the C, which is the root note because we're working in C major. Then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the G is the perfect fifth, but I'm actually going to drop it to the G below, just to mess with things a bit. And now we're starting to get that sound. Let's add some reverb to the fifth bass. Oh, okay, now we're getting there. We're starting to get that vibe that we're looking for. Next thing I want to do, as my magic list says, is make this synth even better. So we're going to add some more movement to this. And this is something I'm not sure if I've shown before on the channel, but what we're going to do is add a little bit of the harsh effect. So what I'm doing is basically adding a delay, like so, 100% wet. And that's the delay. What I'm going to do is take the feedback down, turn off sync, and make it so these two left and right are not connected, and just make the variation slightly different in terms of milliseconds. And what it's going to do is create this interesting stereo width. So this is off. Cool. But what I wanted to show is you can actually automate this feedback as well as the time itself. And this is really important once again for this style of music, is to have, you know, constant things being automated or have LFOs assigned to them. Just creates this like nuance and, you know, slight variation all the time. Just subtle. And it just makes things sound a bit more expensive. And the last thing I'm going to do with this synth is just add, I think, one more octave below, just to thicken up those lower frequencies. And now we could actually completely change the chord progression. We could, in fact, yeah, no, we'll leave the chord progression the same. And what we're going to do is, no, actually, I do want to change it. No, I don't. I don't know. Let's first let's get this piano sounding nice. So I think I'll change the contact sound actually to something a bit more kind of muted, I think, like this. And we'll just take the velocity down. Add some reverb. No, okay, what we're going to do is we are going to change the chord progression. But don't worry, it won't take long because we've already got the sounds in place. So let's go here. I'm actually going to change this to C minor. I'm going to go for a minor feel now because I'm a crazy beast. Again, start on the root note. I just need to get something that you know, like resonates and make me feel something. I'm already feeling that. It's a bit like Rob D, Club to Death. And we'll just go down again. So it's going to go up and then down again. So then we go to the G and then down to the F. And then we'll repeat the last note. So we're actually changing this to probably an F minor. So I'm going to transpose it up so that F is hitting the C. And now hopefully the synth still works. So now let's copy those new bass notes like this. Boom, boom, boom. Copy them over to the main bass. I'm going to go into the mid bass, change that. This is why it's important to get a chord progression that you like at the beginning. It makes life way easier. So I kind of messed up a bit here, but hey, I just wanted to show you the whole process anyway. Obviously, we're going to have to copy that and paste that on to the sub bass like so. Well, something's making a noise, isn't it? Let me just sort that out. Whatever that was is now stopped, so I'm happy. Ooh. And now for the fifth bass, remember we're copying it and just raising it up by 5 positions of the scale. So now we've got, but again, it's an octave too high, I think. 1, 3, 4, 5. Now when the kick comes in, we'll need that bass to be dark. Now with the piano in this kind of music, if you can make it sound more human by slightly varying the timing, it will really add to the emotion, and you could vary the velocity of some of the notes as well. Like so. So I'm just dragging some of them slightly off the grid, like so. That's a bit too far off the grid. And I'm just going to copy these top notes and put them up an octave. Again, as though someone was actually playing a piano, full spectrum like that. So up. And I can adjust some of them, of course. And this is perfect for the breaks as well. So let's have a listen to what we've got so far. And for this bit, we're just varying it at the end. Dum dum. Bum bum. Okay, the most important thing now, apart from the chord progression, which I might change anyway because I want to make it really good for you, is creating the thing that gives the nuance and the detail to this genre, and that is the atmospheric sound beds. So I don't know why we completely changed the key, but we have, so now we're in C minor. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use Splice, and I'm just going to look up a vocal in C minor, and I only need like one tiny like tidbit of that vocal. Let's open it up, Splice. Oh no, I'm not sure if I've actually got the internet here. You gotta work with what you got. So what I'm going to do is get a sample, and I'm just going to find something that should.
Come on.
You are my I wanna
Like that'll do. I know it's cheesy, but we only need a tiny bit of it. So I'm going to tune this to the track. It's already tuned. Brilliant. Nice. So all I need is this. So let's just turn off the warp because it's making it sound weird. So I don't want that variation of pitch there. So all I'm going to do is just duplicate that one note. And you have to make sure it's in tune with the track, obviously. Like this. And you can hear it repeating, which we don't want, but we're going to put a reverb on the channel itself, and that's going to really dim out those transients where it kind of loops around. You can still hear it a bit. I mean, you could go in and kind of do all this stuff to smooth them together, and you should really, because that would be way better. But you know, time is of the essence, and sometimes I'm just not feeling like I can be bothered. Do you ever get that? Sometimes I get it. It's fine though. You just got to make it sound good as simply as possible. So that sounds pretty good. And now listen to this. Remember, you can add slight variation, and you can add slight variation and automation here as well, like that, if you wanted. So with just the drums, you're going to really hear this. Like if the track was to start like this, let's take up the low end of the kick, which is quite standard for this style of music. Like the track starting like this. But I've got one more sound bed to add. Much like the shakers, it's this careful layering that is so important. So I'm going to add another MIDI channel. I'm just going to call this ARP. And then we're going to color that cyan, the natural color of synths. We could color this purple, like the human throat if we want, because it's a singer, but it's more like a texture than a vocal anyway, so I probably wouldn't. And now what I'm going to do is throw another. Oh no, I can show you something really cool. I'm not going to use a synth. I'm going to use a sampler. I'm just going to throw a simpler on there, and I'm just going to find a random synth hit. And that can add extra texture. You know, if you're using samples, sometimes it can just, you create something you weren't expecting. Like that's horrible. I don't care. I'm going to use it. So what I want to do is make sure that it's sampled at C major, because that means I know it's going to be in tune with the rest of the track. Not because the track's in C major or C minor, which it now currently is, but because if something's sampled in C major, that's the default for DAWs. So now what we can do is shape this sound to our needs. So what I'm going to do is hit scale, C major, just going to make one chord. Oh no, we're in C minor now, aren't we? So let's change it to C minor. Hit scale and make one chord. A seventh chord. I might make a ninth. So that's because it's the first, the third, the fifth, the seventh, and the ninth. And it sounds horrid. I get that. It's okay. I'm going to make this more of a pluck sound, just by taking down the sustain and having a fairly short decay. It already sounds cool, but obviously that's just not going to sound good on the track. Let's have a listen. Kick, drums, shakers, and then our sound bed. Like, it's not that great. So what we're going to do is add an arpeggiator to it. And this is something I haven't shown either. Put the arpeggiator on there. We just choose 16ths as the rate. So it's kind of following along with our synth riff. Choose different pattern. That's a bit too. So that sounds a bit hectic, but check this out. Again, all about the transient, so add a little bit of attack, and now we make it into a atmospheric sound bed. Let's try and vary it a little bit. We just want it to kind of get washed out. So I'm going to put 2 reverbs in a row to really kind of disguise it. And even could throw a delay in there. And now we'll get some stereo effects. I'm getting excited now. This is sweet. Listen now. And suddenly you've created something really kind of special. Maybe put that after and experiment with different routing. Now listen how wide it's got. And that's all in tune with the track. Now we can shape it to our needs with the other sound bed. Really subtle, right? With the beat. But listen to the difference it makes. This is with them off. Boring. And you can have that open up over time. Listen how full it's sounding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a bit more work on this. I'm going to let you download it for free. You can use the link below this, but I want you to let me know, did you guess what those 5 secrets to this style of music? Well, let's go through them. I've got them noted down. Firstly, we are using acoustic instruments mixed with synth. So we've got that lovely acoustic piano, but you could use other acoustic instruments as well, and it really just imparts a nice kind of expensive and organic feel to the music. Number 2 is delicate layering and rhythmic interplay. As we looked at with the layering of the shakers and the hats, adding these nuances really makes a difference and makes everything just sound a little bit more special. Number 3, super important, is the atmospheric sound beds that are in tune with the key of the track. Adding those washed out atmospheres really just makes everything sparkle and sound gel together. Number 4 is continual movement using automation or LFOs to create ever evolving tension and release. And number 5, last but not least, is special attention to the transients. How sharp are the sounds when they hit? Can you smooth them out at all? Can you use reverse kicks? And all these subtle things that just make everything sound a bit more rounded and smooth rather than really aggressive and punchy, which is perfect for some genres, but not for deep and melodic house. Now, there are a few more melodic house techniques which I'm going to put together in a video for you right there, but if you want more tuition and you want to achieve some of the things that our other Accelerator students are achieving, then you can check out the details below this video. And if you enjoyed this, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and thank you for watching. Cheers, and I'll catch you over at that next video.